Hello everyone, welcome to another video in our Rooted series through the book of James. Today's passage is actually only 2 verses. We're in James chapter 4 verse 11 and 12. Last week we talked all about how important it is to be humble before God, right? How we have to approach Him with the right attitude and the right view of ourselves. And today we're kind of looking at how that translates into the way that we treat one another, right? For those of us who have trusted in Jesus, right, we can get in a lot of situations where we don't get along and where we're speaking really poorly of one another. And this is kind of something we spoke about a few weeks ago when we were talking about taming the tongue, right? The tongue is like a fire, right? It's this small thing that can just cause a ton of damage. And so we're going to kind of be talking about something similar to that's related to that today. We're going to be talking about what it means to judge our neighbor and speak evil against them. So let's read the 2 verses. Here we go. Do not speak evil against one another, brothers. The one who speaks against a brother or judges his brother speaks evil against the law and judges the law. But if you judge the law, you are not a doer of the law, but a judge. There is only one lawgiver and judge, He who is able to save and to destroy. But who are you to judge your neighbor? So the first thing we're told is to not speak evil against each other. Well, what does it mean to speak evil against each other? Well, there's different things, right? We could be spreading lies about one another. We could be spreading exaggerations and embellishments of the truth about people in a negative way, or we could even be sharing true things but in the wrong context, in the wrong way, right? Just gossiping. So we're not lying per se, but we're still speaking in a way that's harmful to other people. Now, why do we speak evil? Like, why would we ever speak evil against one another? Well, there's a few reasons. I think one of the reasons is maybe we're trying to gain some kind of advantage, right? Like maybe we're going to talk badly about someone else so that someone else thinks better of us, right? Think of someone who's maybe like owns a business and they're going to talk poorly about someone they're competing with in business so that they can get more of their clients. Another reason is just pride, right? Sometimes we can talk poorly about other people because we want to feel better about ourselves, because we think that we're smarter than them or better than them. There's also just the desire to talk. I mean, some people just like to run their mouths, right? Some people just can't help but talk about things, and when they run out of good things to say, they start saying bad things about people. And sometimes it's in retaliation, right? Sometimes someone has offended us or hurt us, so we're going to kind of get back at them by speaking poorly about them to other people. Again, whether those are lies, half-truths, or truths, we're sharing that information in a bad way. But the word here says that speaking against a brother or sister, that word for brother, remember, it's like French. So when we read brother, it really means brothers and sisters. But when we speak against a brother or a sister that way, it's speaking against the law. Well, what does it mean to speak against the law? Well, Jesus teaches us to love one another. The Bible tells us not to judge one another. So if we're doing those things, if we're speaking evil, if we're judging, then we're essentially saying that the rules don't apply to us, right? God's law, the teachings of Jesus, right? We can hold other people accountable for doing wrong, but for some reason we think that we're above the rules. But here's the thing, the rules do apply to us. And why do they apply to us? Well, because we're not God, right? We're the ones who are supposed to be the doers of the law. We're the ones who are supposed to follow the teachings of Jesus. We don't get to make up the rules. We aren't God. So that's why he ends this with this question, who are you to judge your neighbor? And essentially, the answer to that question is, I have no right to judge my neighbor. Now here's the thing, you might be saying, okay, whoa, hold up one second. Are we saying that we can't ever say that anything that anyone does is wrong? Well, no, that's not really what's being spoken of here. Right? You don't have to pretend that everyone and everything they do is perfect. Right? The Bible's clear. You can confront people. Right? If there's a problem, right? Like, let's say you had a friend who was really struggling with like drug abuse. Like, you can go to them and tell them that that's a problem and tell them they need to stop. And that's not judging them. That's lovingly confronting them. What judging them would be saying, I'm going to treat you in such a way that I am going to, I'm going to exercise judgment. I'm going to punish you however I feel that you need to be punished for that thing. And that's what we don't have the right to do. We don't have the right to punish people or to drag them through the mud because of whatever it is that they're struggling with. So you can confront people. You can lovingly correct people, right? That's not necessarily judging if you're coming to them and you're seeking to help them. But here's the thing, like, bad-mouthing someone behind their back because of something that they're struggling with doesn't help them, right? That is speaking evil. That is judging. The interesting thing too when we read about judging is there's a lot of people who kind of say this thing like, oh, like only God can judge me. And I mean, technically that's true, but I think the people who tend to say that sort of thing don't actually believe in God or that God can actually judge them, right? Like, keep in mind when it describes God here, it says he is the one who is able to save and to destroy, right? Like, so for those who don't know Jesus, like, they're going to have to answer for the things that they've done. And so to say that only God can judge me, I mean, that should be a scary thought. I mean, for all of us, that God can judge us. And here's the other thing, right? Let's not take this whole idea of, we shouldn't judge our neighbors to say that other people can't speak truth into our lives, right? Other people might have really loving or wise things to say to us when maybe we're in the wrong. Maybe we're struggling somewhere and someone comes to us and says, hey, I noticed that you said this thing or you did this thing or you responded this way, and I think that might be a problem. And if they're just sharing wisdom with us and loving us, we should receive that, right? The Bible says that if we don't like getting corrected when we're in the wrong, then we're a fool. And in the biblical sense, you don't want to be a fool. A fool is someone who really has no hope in life because they're just so stubborn they can't figure things out. So we still want to allow people to speak wisdom into our life, but it's not exercising judgment on them, right? We're not saying, I am going to punish you for the things that you've done, because we have absolutely no right to do that, because the reality is that none of us are perfect. None of us are meeting the standard. And that's why we have zero right to judge one another. So in the upcoming week, guys, I really want us to be mindful of the way that we're talking about other people, right? And especially those people who we know who have maybe done wrong, maybe even done wrong to us. Let's be careful not to be judging them. And let's try to find ways to love them. And if we have something that we have to confront someone about, let's not speak badly behind their back, but let's kindly and gently go to them directly and talk to them about it. Otherwise, we might be speaking evil, and that's not what Jesus wants for us. As always, it was great sharing this video with you guys. Looking forward to connecting soon. Take care and God bless.